So let's be honest, guys. Everybody and their grandma knows right now that the housing market's screwed up. There's not enough supply. A lot of people are priced out of the market, and some people are expecting things to get even more out of hand in 2025. So guys, you guessed it, we're going to break down the housing market in this video. So make sure to subscribe and let's get into it.
Buying a house is near impossible in today's market, and mortgage rates are the highest they've been in decades. The reason for that, by the way, is the cost of building is increasing. So you have inflation from materials, lumber, steel, wages are going up. So for plumbers, electricians, architects, a lot of these trades are costing more money at the same time that material is costing more money. At the same time that zoning is getting harder and harder to build. So when you're a developer and you think, I could develop a $200,000 home, or I could just go over here and build a $2 million home for a little more work, your ROI is going to be so much greater for developers on luxury properties than it is on like the run-of-the-mill average house. So that's why it makes sense to build luxury houses. You also have to consider the size of houses is also increasing alongside with it. So when you look at the 1950s, most of these houses were 1,000, 1,500 square feet. So their price is going to be a lot lower than the average house today, which is 2,500 square feet. So we are getting more square footage, which is costing more money to build, and obviously that price is increasing. They need to build more houses. And now who's they? Developers.
Shout out to Bob the Builder, guys. I completely forgot about that character. Haven't seen them in like 2 decades at this point. But Graham's right. There's a lot to unpack there, but builders are for sure more incentivized to build bigger, more luxury houses today, as opposed to, I guess, smaller houses. And houses in general have gotten a lot bigger from the 50s, the 60s, right? Where they were 1,000, 1,500 square feet. Now they're pushing 2,000, 2,200, 2,500 square feet for the average home or whatever it is. Yeah, houses have gotten bigger, guys. And as the cost of labor, supplies, all of that goes up, well, that's pushing the housing market. That's, part of the reason why prices have gone up and new builds are so expensive, because materials, labor is so expensive.
When will millennials and Gen Zs be able to buy a house again? Well, here's 5 scenarios in which that can happen. You're not going to like number 5, but I had to include it in the list. So number 1 is going to be increasing your income or getting a cosigner. The average home right now sits around $420,000. If you're going to put down a 3% down payment, you're going to need about $110,000 to $120,000 of income to qualify for that home. Now, number 2 is if we see a 30% market crash and the average home goes down to $300,000, then someone making around $85,000 would have a shot at that home. Number 3 is if the interest rates go down to 4%. This would bring your payment down to around $2,800 a month, and then someone making $85,000 would have a shot at qualifying. Number 4 is going to be a massive down payment. So if you're looking for a $400,000 to a $420,000 home and you put down 80 to 100 grand, someone making around 85,000 would then have a shot at buying that home. And then lastly, this is the one that's very unpopular, but I think it's going to become more popular, is relocating. There are areas in the country where you can still get homes for 250 to 300,000 that would cost you around $15,000 with a down payment and closing costs, and you'd only need around $65,000 to $85,000 in income to qualify for this home. So I would recommend, in the meantime, saving money, paying off your debt, and putting a plan together so that you can grab a house if one of these scenarios happen.
Booyah, baby. There we go. He's right. These are 5 scenarios easily where millennials, Gen Z, will have a shot at buying a home. And it's not easy. It's not going to be a piece of cake, but if you focus on the fundamentals, paying off debt, increasing your income, and one of these scenarios plays out, you might have a shot. And that 5th one he mentioned, relocating, it's not the most popular by any stretch of the imagination. People like staying where they grew up or where they're comfortable or the city they actually like, and they don't want to relocate. But guys, if you're having trouble affording a house, that might be a legitimate option or something that you might have to do to actually get a house. So guys, 30% crash. If that happens, you'll be in a good spot if you're prepared. If rates keep going down, which it seems like they are, that monthly payment will come down even more, which is ideal.
Right now, it is a challenge to sell a house, even post-election. Ain't impossible, but we're seeing a lot of houses be stagnant, a lot of price reductions, a lot of softening is what we're seeing. I think this is going to go on till almost the end of the year. And then I think it's going to be really a good market after January. Typically, this happens toward the end of the year. Last year, we bumped up against 8% interest rates, and it was brutal to sell a house this time last year. But come January, when all the buyers wipe the cobwebs off of their homeownership dreams and people get past the holidays, I think the market's going to rip. I think people are and have been waiting to get into the market. I think regardless of what interest rates do, we're going to see a surge. We always kind of do. A lot of people come into the area, relocate after the first of the year, after holidays. So it's a great time to buy right now.
So yeah, guys, we have to realize that it looks like real estate with Ann. I guess she's a real estate agent. So when you're talking to a real estate agent, they never think anything bad's going to happen. Obviously it makes sense, right? They're incentivized to always think the market's going to be good, sell, we got to sell real estate. It's all going to be good, sunshine and rainbows. And it's good to look at both sides of the coin, right? See what real estate agents are saying, see what the opposite side's saying. It's always good to look at both sides of the coin. And she thinks the real estate market is going to explode. It's going to rip in 2025, which, hey, I think that is a, scenario that could very well play out. Rates are coming down. People are on the sidelines, no doubt about it, waiting for rates to come down. They've had time to stack up some cash, build up a down payment. And yeah, if rates continue to drop in 2025, which they are projected to do so, people are going to come in, buy up some houses, and well, that could cause the prices to continue to go up, especially because supply is so constrained right now.
This housing market is ridiculous. People like me who are close to their 30s, who are considering getting married, buying a house, having kids, that dream just feels like a stretch. But our parents, those boomers, they could do it. Let me show you. This house here in California sold for $1.2 million not so long ago. But in 1994, when my parents had me, this house sold for $140,000. And for those of you wondering if this was some sort of crazy flip, no, it was not. This house has had no major renovations since it's been built. So let's take a look at the numbers. This house in 1994 sold for $140,000. With a 20% down payment, your payment would have been $28,000. You would have had an 8% interest rate, and this would have put your payment and interest at $852. In 2023, this home sold for $1.2 million. 20% down payment would have been $240K. You'll have a 7.5% interest rate, and your payment and interest is going to be $6,712. Let's understand the averages here. You see, in 1994, in this part of California, your average household income was about $50,000. Today, in this same neighborhood, your average income is about $130,000, which is good, but not good enough. Back when our parents were doing things, the American dream was possible. The average income could afford you the average house. But over a series of unfortunate events, we have to be above average just to afford average things now. So I don't make this video just to complain and do nothing about it. Me, I'm going to do what I can to continue to get the lifestyle that I want for myself. Quite frankly, having one source of income just isn't going to be good enough. So I'm going to grind on my job and make as much as I can in my 9 to 5, but I'm going to have to build something on the side so that I can still get what I want. And there's always going to be that side that says I'm a part of the problem because we need to stop buying. But me, I'm not one to wait. If I want something, I'm going to go get it, regardless of what the cost is. Like, follow, and comment if you're like me or you think I'm a part of the problem.
He's right, guys. You got to grind your 9 to 5 these days, if that's what you have, or a business or whatever. And you also have to have a side hustle or do something on the side. Unless you make a lot of money at your business or your 9 to 5, then you might not have to have anything on the side. But a lot of people, guys, if you're making the average income in America, 60,000, 50, whatever it is these days, if that's what you're making in a lot of major cities, it's not going to cut it. And that's crazy, man. That house in California, why do people still live in California, man? It's like people want to be broke. It's unbelievable. Like, leave California. Unless you're making like $500,000 a year or more, you can't justify living there, in my opinion, unless you live, okay, fine. If you're not in one of the major cities in California, maybe you can pull it off. But if you're in San Francisco, if you're in LA, if you're in these big cities and you're making like $50K a year, what are you doing there? Get out of there, man. If you're making, you need to make hundreds of thousands of dollars to live there comfortably. I mean, come on.
If you're a homeowner and you bought a home pre-2021 or in 21, your mortgage is cheaper than rent.
Yes.
If you're looking to buy a home today, it's the exact opposite by a significant amount.
Yes.
Right? So like in my neighborhood, starter home is $1 million. Rent on that is probably going to be $5,000 a month, $500 a month. Mortgage would be almost $9,000 a month.
Yeah.
$8,500.
That's my
So you got a
daughter's
big
situation.
delta, right? I was with somebody yesterday who has a home in LA, $2 million home, rents it out for $8,500, which I thought was undervalued. But he rents out for $8,500. He was like, dude, for a mortgage for that thing, it's $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
So the incentive right now is actually to rent, I think, for the let's say the Gen Z, early millennial.
Yeah.
The question just becomes, what happens when rates start coming down a little bit more? I don't think they ever touch 2% again.
Yeah.
But what does that do?
Yeah, what the heck does it do? Well, a lot of people think, like that lady earlier in the video, it's going to cause prices to go up like crazy. People on the sidelines, they're going to buy up houses when they can. When that price gets right, they have the down payments ready. But yeah, you know, we've talked about this on the channel before, guys. Renting now in many areas in the United States, at least, is a lot cheaper than buying, right? And that wasn't the case a couple years ago. And now it's flip-flopped, right? So it's not cheaper to buy than rent. It's cheaper to rent than buy. That's what it's like these days, guys. And guys, my opinion is, and I'm by far a real estate expert. I'm not a real estate expert, but in my opinion, these days, guys, you gotta just be prepared, right? And the main thing is the down payment and your credit. Make sure you pay off your bad debt, get your credit right, save up a chunky down payment, be ready, and when that opportunity strikes, well, you'll be ready.